Hi everyone. Today I want to show you a little gem I've made. It's called Cubism. What it does is it's a CableReady based present solution that you can tack onto your resources, like a post or an article, anything really you want to show that other users are watching at the same time. We're going to do that by crafting a little typing indicator solution. So the type of blah 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 user is typing, you'd see in a Discord channel, etc. But before we do that, I'd like to cover some ground as to what this little gem really does. So I've got this sequence diagram here lined up. What we have here is when a user or a browser session, for that matter, watches a certain resource, it subscribes to a channel, to an Action Cable channel, using a model identifier of some sorts. The channel then looks up this model, adds the current user to present user set that's that's available on the model. And the model then goes and asks another class that's called broadcaster to render the provided presence template. And this then in turn queues up a CableReady broadcast with the channel, and the channel broadcaster DOM changes, plain CableReady action. What's important to mention is that this gem is based upon KRedis or Credis. So you need to have that installed in your app, and the little example app I've generated here, that is already in place. So I made a new Rails 7 app. I used the ES build JS bundling option here. I also added the credits and installed credits, or ran the credits installer. So to demonstrate how Cubism works, we need a minimum of two resources. We need a user and something that user is present on. So first things first, we're gonna have to generate a model and call it model user, and that user has a username with string. Let's db migrate. All right, classic. In fact, I'm gonna whip up tmux session here because I'm gonna want to use a couple of tabs. Anyway, in a Rails console, let's create two users. First username is gonna be me, and the second username is gonna be Andrew. Got so many Andrews in my life that I thought this would warrant a user here. So whoever's feeling addressed now, you're welcome. Okay, next we're gonna need a resource that the user is present on, and because I'm feeling creative today, I called this message scaffold. We're gonna reference the user here, though that's not really the point of this, or it's not necessary for this demo. And we need some content. So let's just run this scaffold, say RSDB migrates. And again, gonna have to fetch the first user now. Great, so let's create a message with some content. Cubism is awesome, of course it is. And user is me. Okay, great. So let's just check if this of course. We've killed every process before. So let's just have a look if our app is up and running. And it is. We can even look if our message is there. Right, it is there. Next, we're gonna go and clean up the messages controller a bit, because we actually only need the show route. So I'm gonna delete most of that. And what we're gonna do though is we are going to simulate a user session, because I don't want to set proper authentication for this demo. I'm gonna just say we set a user in the show action, and don't try this at home, but what we're gonna do is just add the user the reference from a request param, and in our message show view, I'm gonna clean out everything beneath here because there are no edit routes, etc. So, okay. Superficially, nothing really has changed. We now have a user ID equals 1 that's been referenced from the controller now. Okay. So now that is done, let's exit here again. We're gonna say bundle add Cubism now to our gem file, and we're also gonna say we want to add the synthesized Cubism npm package. Great. So while that is installed, we're gonna have to do only a little client-side setup here, and that setup is taking place in the application.js, and we're gonna need to initialize CableReady with an action cable consumer. I'm gonna get that action cable consumer from a sub-module of hotwired tow rails. I'm gonna import CableReady from CableReady, of course. And because that was installed with Cubism, and import the Cubism package. It's gonna set up all the dependencies and register the custom elements that I used for Cubism. And last but not least, we need to jump through a few hoops, because what we need is the consumer from that cable module. The problem being, so we need that to initialize CableReady. The problem now is that ESBuild doesn't support top level awaits, so we're gonna have to get a little bit complicated here and wrap that in an iffy. So fire up Rails again. Just check that we don't have any console errors here. That's good. Now we can start actually crafting the presence solution, and this is gonna prove to be really easy. I love this. So The first thing is we need to tell Cubism what our user class is. And we do this by just including the Cubism user module in our user class. This doesn't have to be the user class. You could track presence for a team or an account or what have you. It just tells Cubism which resource to use to look up the users. And the second thing we need is to actually tell it which classes, which models to track presence on, and that is the message in our case. And we include the Cubism presence module here. And that's really it for the server-side setup. It's pretty elegant, I think. All we need to do now is just display it somewhere in our template. So Cubism gives you a helper called cubicle4, and this helper expects two arguments. The one is the actual resource we're checking presence on, and the user that's gonna be added to the present users list. By default, when displaying the present users, we exclude the current user, the one that is watching at the moment, so like a Google Drive style, or if you have a typing indicator, you don't want to see yourself typing. But for demonstration purposes, we just set that to false. And this helper yields the present users to a block. So what we're gonna do in here is just very simply and quickly say we want these users, we want the username to sentence, and if size is greater than 1, it's R, else it is watching this message. See if that works. And Julian is watching this message. Running that up side by side with the second window, where we reference the second user, which is Andrew. Now Julian and Andrew are watching the message. I close this, and only Andrew is watching the message. Great. So there's only one thing that's left in our demo, and that's to transform this into a typing indicator. And for that to happen, we're gonna simulate having a comment form or something like that just by inserting a single text field tag called comment. Conveniently, this also sets an ID of comment, which is gonna be needed in a second. For a typing indicator, we actually don't want to see the current user typing, but we need to set some other options. So the appear trigger is the connect codec by default. So whenever you watch a page, that's including a certain resource, but we can customize this. We can say the appear trigger should be the focus event. This needs to be a JavaScript event name, but it can be any event really. And that this appear trigger is the opposite is blur. And now a last customization here. is we have to specify a trigger route. And the trigger route is the element that's dispatching the JavaScript event focus blur. So that's that. Now let's just make this a little bit prettier. We say we actually only if users are present, we're gonna display that, and now they are not watching, they are typing. So let's see if that has worked out. Right, so we have a comment field here. If I click inside here and type, then above and on that side, Julian is typing appears. If I blur that, it disappears, and vice versa. Anyways, typing. I can't really demo both are typing because either the one or the other is kind of blur, but we have crafted a little typing indicator solution with, I'd say, 7 lines of code maybe, or maybe 10 lines of code if you include the new helper here in around 7 minutes, I believe. That's awesome. What Cubism does not do at the moment, but this is on a roadmap, is track presence on routes. So at the moment you have to have a model instance that this is tracked on. But a routes concern is on the roadmap, so that you could in your routes RB you should be able to include Cubism routes or something like that, and define it on per route basis. But this is rather sophisticated and will take some time, but it's definitely on the roadmap. So I really hope you enjoyed this quick demo. It shows what CableReady is capable of, and I suspect that we're gonna see lots of little CableReady helper jams like this in the near future. See you. Bye-bye.